So, Brooke, you're in charge of the marketplace, and your Skype icon here has X Street SL Magic Box that is roasting on a fire. Is there some significance to that icon?
Well, when we initially launched direct delivery, we were hoping we could get rid of magic boxes entirely. But
what is the status now? Is there still magic boxes? Where's the viewer managed marketplace? I need to know. I need to have certainty. I'm confused.
There are still magic boxes in use. I'm going to give you a little teaser here.
Okay.
Nobody knows about this yet.
Ooh.
We have created a new Linden Bear to commemorate the pending removal of the merchant outbox.
Can I then burn that bear? Or would that be cruelty to bears?
Well,
let's leave it like that.
Okay. I am Brooke Linden, and you are listening to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley.
Hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre. I'm here alone because Joe is gone. She's working, and it is my anniversary. I know that's too much real life information, but you got to cut me some slack, dear listener. I love you and I love this community, but I need this day off. There needs to be a balance between real life and second life. But nonetheless, we have an amazing show today because we have a long and in-depth interview with Brooke Linden, senior producer at Linden Lab, in charge of the marketplace for 4 years now. The merchants know her, they respect her, but they have never heard her talk about marketplace issues in the depth that we have heard today. And it's also, of course, the advent of the beta of the viewer-managed marketplace. So that's the occasion why we have her on. So we'll get to that interview right away after a few housekeeping notes. You can get in touch with us. Ping the show's avatar Drax Files. Send us some news scoops. Send us press releases. Let us know what's happening in Second Life and elsewhere. On Skype, you can leave us a voicemail under Drax Files. You can send us an email, radio@draxfiles.com. You can become a sponsor with us. You can have your own banner displayed on the website. We mentioned your name every single show. We have special giveaways now and then. You can also support us on an individual basis by taking out a voluntary subscription for only $100 Linden per month. That's $25 Linden per show. Send us a message and we will send you the subscription device made by Chris Lehman from Botanical. Before we go to Brooke Linden, I need to play some music because Jordan Rain, I'm a Jordan Rain fan, and Jordan Rain is retiring from the music business. She just sent me an email, and she has a new album coming out, an EP actually, called Maiden, from the Maiden Mother Crone trilogy. It's out April 27th. Jordan Rain, of course, sort of, what would you call it? Electronic folk, dark gothic folk or something like that, maybe? I have to ask her how to name her genre. Anyway, Jordan plays all over the world and all over Second Life. Here is her song, Quirky Girls, from the upcoming album, Maiden.
She said it was a walk in the sun because we should not love the day. And just because the darkness will come, why should we fear the rain? bones broken. No one gets to walk away. Sing for me, they said. Sing for me. Sing for me, they said. Sing for me. They said, sing for me. They said, she wasn't seen for 15 days. She wasn't really seen at all. And on the day the earth was thrown, no one could ever fill the hole. Don't tell us where the pretty boys are. Don't tell us what they want us all to be. I'm dancing with the quirky girls. We are singing for the sea, for the sea. For the sea.
So that was Jordan Rain with Cheeky Girls from her upcoming EP coming out on the 27th. Now on to the feature section. This is, by the way, a little bit a shorter show. I know it's called the Drax Files Radio Hour. This is the Drax Files Radio under an hour for reasons that I stated at the top of this hour. Here's Brooke Linden and some background and some context on her work for the marketplace. The beta of the viewer-managed marketplace is happening now. You can try it out. The viewer-managed marketplace, of course, a way to manage your marketplace listings from within the viewer, a lot easier and on track of abandoning magic boxes forever, but not quite there yet. Here is Brooke Linden.
I've been working on the marketplace for a little over 4 years, and it's been a long road, let's say. We migrated a bunch of stuff from magic boxes to direct delivery. We identified some issues with that and have now made some changes in a new system that we're calling Viewer Managed Marketplace to allow the final remnants of magic box users to move off of magic boxes and get those listings consolidated with our direct delivery listings, so people only have to know how to do one thing.
Before we go into the nitty-gritty of the technology, I'm always curious how the term producer is defined in your line of work, and it's so shifting when you go from the tech industry to Hollywood and back, and I talked with Yardley about that a while ago. Can you define what your role is? What's the hierarchy? I think that's fascinating.
At Linden Lab, the way that we're set up organizationally is engineering and QA are in separate organizations, and our product team has producers and user experience. You know, that's our primary focus is what do the users want? How are we going to implement this in a way that is easier for them to understand, especially within some of the existing constraints of the way Second Life works. We have to compromise sometimes on how we might like to simplify the user experience. And that's the same with any legacy system. But, so we basically define what needs to happen, work to clarify identify that, communicate that, hand it off to engineering and QA, and they make it happen. We continue to be involved in the process through reviews and providing feedback, priorities, et cetera. And we work through the launch of the product, incorporating feedback from customers, determining which bugs are priorities, all those kinds of things.
So it's a liaison between those inhumane engineers that can't communicate and the users who don't understand what the engineers are doing. I'm sorry, this is a prevailing cliche that engineers are incapable of communicating.
And you know what? We have some great engineers here who are make that really easy for us producers. So definitely props to them.
I am going to confirm that the engineers that I have met at Linden Lab are in fact human beings.
Yes.
Great human beings. So you talked about constraints. Second Life is an enormously complex world, product, whatever you call it, game. And some things that the engineers might be capable of doing in another context, because of that complexity, you might have to put the brakes on. What are some of those things? Does it have to do with breaking older content primarily, or what are some of those landmines that are lying out there?
I guess if you think about it in terms of a piece of furniture that you have, so say you have an antique desk and you think it's great, but you don't really like the color. You can strip it, change the color. It's not that hard, not that expensive. But say it starts falling apart and it's beyond your expertise. So you take it to somebody who repairs antiques and they say, oh, wow, termites have gotten in and we're going to have to completely take this apart to fix the components that keep this structure together, which is much more time consuming and expensive. It's similar with software. There are things that can be easily done on the surface to make it prettier, make some of the interactions easier. But if there are and sort of termites have gotten in is not necessarily the best analogy, perhaps. The way the initial engineer built it didn't allow it to survive the ages. And that's what happens a lot with software. Technology evolves. We realize certain decisions that were made in the past based upon the knowledge at the time of how to scale don't hold true anymore, or there are new solutions. And really, we have to balance how much would it cost for us to go in and take out some core fundamental system or change that core fundamental system, and then how many other systems depend on it doing exactly what it does, the way that it does it today.
But how does this apply to Marketplace? This might be a naive question from my end as a non-technical person. Marketplace is essentially a website. Wouldn't it be a lot easier to fix all these problems on Marketplace versus Second Life? I know it's related and you ultimately have to deliver the items in world, but the whole makeup of the marketplace itself, the listing procedure and all these kind of things, you have more, it seems to me you have more leeway than stuff that is more connected to the world business.
And that's true to a degree. So where we deal with the inventory system is where we're dealing with these core systems. And honestly, that's the thing that has taken significant amounts of time for both direct delivery and viewer managed marketplace, because when you go in and make changes, you realize, oh, we didn't know that making this change here affects this system way down the line. You know, as customers know, we don't discover these things until we either launch something for beta testing or launch it to production.
Or you hear a lot of people screaming about stuff.
Yes. One lucky thing for us is our customers tell us. Some products may not have customers who are as willing to jump in and say, hey, we're seeing this problem, and also help us try and figure out what's happening. We have a lot of very technical customers who can provide us with information that can sometimes be very helpful in figuring out what we need to change.
That's a very nice way of putting it. I'm sure that me as a Comcast customer, the way I deal with Comcast inside Comcast headquarters, they would talk about the likes of me in different terms. They'd be like, yeah, and we appreciate his sentiment about calling us a greedy monopoly. So let's be specific. Like there was something about items that were non-delivered. So when you hear about something like this, if you could step me through the process. Let's say a bunch of residents say, hey, wait a minute, I bought this, it's not delivered. So the complaint comes to your doorstep. What do you do next?
The scenario you're describing oftentimes means there's some kind of operational failure. Typically, our ops team already knows about it. We have a lot of monitoring set up to make sure that we understand if some service isn't responding, et cetera, et cetera. And so they would typically already be on top of it, know what the issue is, and be addressing it before I even have a chance to get involved. In the majority of significant operational degradation, we have a great infrastructure and process set up that means that if we don't know about those issues already, we have a process that allows our operational support team to be able to take a look almost immediately as soon as they know about it and make sure that issues don't continue. I don't have time limits for how long things are down. I'm sure somebody who's monitoring this stuff much more closely, but typically when something happens with inventory, that's a pretty rapid turnaround, 30 minutes to an hour for things to stabilize and get caught back up.
What is the team in terms of size? How many people are dedicated to the marketplace? Are they solely dedicated to this? Or as you already kind of put the light on, there's overlap with other QA processes?
We have, to some degree, we have whoever needs to step up, from an operational perspective to help out. And I mean, for one particular outage, that could include, one person up to a handful to deal with issues, just depending upon severity and complexity.
Now, you mentioned direct delivery earlier, which was implemented, I think, very successfully. I have seen this go almost instantaneously. I buy it on the marketplace, it arrives. There used to be a lot of issues around that. So pat yourself on the back for successfully implementing that. The next step is the viewer managed marketplace. Can you explain what the viewer managed marketplace is?
It just takes direct delivery another step and allows us to include the functionality that we need to be able to finally retire magic boxes. With direct delivery, what we were doing is we were using the merchant outbox.
Sorry, I just have to interject. Whoever came up with magic boxes?
They came when we purchased X Street.
Oh, yeah. See, that goes back that way.
That was before my time.
Oh my God, that was it 2008, I think, right? Or I have to verify
I think
that.
It was about then, because I started in 2010, and it was just after the marketplace launched.
I think a lot of people would contend that there's nothing magic about these damn boxes.
I have heard similar sentiments, and that's part of the reason that we've been trying to get rid of them. Again, it was a system that did exactly what it needed to do within the constraints that were available to an external company to be able to provide this type of service. Once we moved it internally, we had the ability to make some changes. And we learned from those changes, there were some problems with the merchant outbox. And recently we've seen some uptick in some of the problems of sending things from the merchant outbox to the marketplace. And really, it's a step that we don't need. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There's no need to send things to the marketplace and then send them back to another user. We can just skip that step and have the marketplace deliver items directly out of the user's inventory.
Just a little context for new listeners or new people new to Second Life. X Street SL was a business that was run, and I have to look this up, by entrepreneurial residents, and this was the predecessor of the marketplace, a way to shop for items online and not in world. And then Linden Lab purchased it. That's where the marketplace came from. Now, what is the status now with the viewer managed marketplace?
As I said, there are lots of intricate and core details around making changes to the way that that marketplace accesses inventory. And we want to make sure that it's really safe. Rightly so, users are concerned about their inventory. And we have been doing rigorous internal testing to make sure that we aren't doing anything to inventory that could be problematic for merchants.
What are some of these things that could jeopardize the safety? Can someone go into that transaction and take stuff out of the inventory, or things disappear?
So some of it is honestly just around communication, making sure we're communicating what's happening to merchants. Like, for example, if I want to sell something using direct delivery today, I copy something to my merchant outbox and then it gets sent to the marketplace. Well, with viewer managed marketplace, there's no reason to make a copy. You're just moving it from one folder to another in your inventory. We are providing a way to copy folders through context menu, but it's with no copy items, you won't be able to make copies. So the default way of dealing with moving items from inventory to the marketplace listings folder is a move. And so making sure we're communicating that to merchants so they don't misunderstand what's happening, why something doesn't appear in their folder still.
So let me even make this even more clear. So I'm a creator. I create an item. It is in my folder wherever I have it, and then I move it from that folder to the marketplace listings folder. And then when it's in that folder, it doesn't make a copy. It just moves into that folder, and then it will be listed on marketplace instantaneously.
You have to go through a few steps, and we have an FAQ that is already available for people who are trying out the alpha. And we also have some Torley videos, which will be coming out when we launch the beta, to explain how this happens. There are several steps that we do automatically for you. There's a folder structure that we have to set up to help the marketplace understand what is in inventory and allow merchants to manage different versions of their product. We worked with merchants when we initially proposed this to get their feedback on what was important to them as we were designing this new feature set or improved feature set, if you want to look at it that way, on top of direct delivery. And we got feedback from them that they'd like to be able to store their versions all together. And that was additional feedback we got during the alpha from merchants. And so we've allowed merchants to right-click on a folder and say, copy to marketplace listings folder. So there's an easy way for them to make copies. They don't have to actually go copy the folder and then move the copy of the folder. We do all that for them.
Now, for the listeners who are not merchants or don't deal with that, I hear a lot from my creative friends that listing on marketplace is a pain in the butt. Can you summarize the listing process? What other things do I actually have to go through when I list it? Is it as simple as putting something up on eBay? Not that that is actually simple or enjoyable for that matter, or Etsy or whatever. Just step us through that.
We have simplified the process with Viewer Managed Marketplace. So basically what happens is you say I had a folder of some items that I wanted to sell, and they're all copyable to me. Just the simplest case. I drag that folder in the marketplace listings folder. A couple of folders are created for me, what we're calling a top-level listing folder. And then the folder I dragged in is the version folder. What I can do is I can right-click on the top-level listing folder and create a listing. It'll automatically set everything up except for some of the fields that are required on the marketplace. So Then we've added a link to edit your listing. So you can right click on the listing folder and say edit listing, go in and fill out the description, price.
That opens your browser. You put in tags there, the pricing structure and photos and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then you can either activate your listing from the marketplace, or you can go back to the viewer and activate it once you've made those edits to your listing. So we've removed several steps of the process, which involved putting something in your merchant outbox, waiting for it to get sent to the marketplace website, going to the marketplace website, refreshing it, manually creating a listing, editing the listing, and then editing it. Where things become really great is if you want to make changes to the contents of your listing.
That is something that the YouTube folks, my YouTube friends, would wish. Vimeo already offers that, for example, or the Vimeo Premiere service, that you can actually swap out a video, but the URL stays the same.
Yes, and basically what we're doing is, say you decide you need to add instructions to an item that you're selling. Today, what you would have to do is put a note card in the folder, put it in the merchant outbox, send that to the marketplace, go into the listing on the marketplace, and choose that new folder you just sent to the marketplace. Well, with Viewer Managed Marketplace, all you have to do is put a note card in a folder.
If I want to swap the item but keep that listing, let's say I'm updating that specific item, and a lot of people, or I have placed that specific marketplace URL on all my other promotional properties, but I want to swap out that item and keep that URL. Is that possible?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
There are a couple of different ways of doing that. There's a very manual process that we have set up, which is we need in order to support migrating from magic boxes. But then there's also a way, if you just have a new version, you put a version in your listing folder and you right click and you say activate, and it uses your new version going forward.
I'm wondering if you hear, or what your sense is of this eternal debate between, I guess you can call it cannibalization. A lot of merchants say that marketplace has essentially ruined in-world business. Others say, a lot of my friends who are successful in-world say, well, you know what? If you provide a great shopping experience in-world, maybe around events, or maybe around just a compelling sim, a nicely aesthetically designed sim, then you will have in-world traffic as well. My question is a broad philosophical question. What your sense is, or if you hear something from interacting with merchants, where do they stand? Where do you yourself stand? Can it coexist? What is even the internal debate at Linden Lab about that?
Well, I mean, I see it as meeting different needs for customers. Customers like to shop in different ways. And one thing that Marketplace does is it allows them, if they know exactly what they want, it's easy to search and find it. So it's more like, a very directed form of shopping. Some people do browse and sort of move through various things, look at what's popular on Marketplace. But I see in-world shopping as much more experiential, right? You're looking for possibly a more personal touch, or you want to go see things in world.
Combine it with a social experience, maybe meet people or have a discussion. Hey, this looks good. Oh, no, I bought this other one that's better, and stuff like that.
Definitely. I mean, it's meeting different needs. And I think that they're both important for us to allow merchants to provide their customers.
I was just thinking of this, and before I forget, my wish on my wish list, and I don't know how feasible this is a marketplace app for the iPhone or Android device. I'm on the train and I'm browsing things for my new machinima. I'm building a set. I need to outfit people, blah, blah, blah. And I look over the stuff and I can buy it. And when I arrive at home, it's in world and I'm ready to go.
That is a good request, and one that we have heard from people. It's definitely in the queue as something that we would like to do if we have resources and prioritize it appropriately with all of the other things that we need to do. And what we've been spending a lot of time on is making sure that aspects of Marketplace that haven't necessarily been stable or at risk or haven't grown with our number of users and purchases are functioning well. Adding something like an iPhone application might increase usage that much more. And
I'm convinced that it would increase, I mean, to me, this seems like a no-brainer. Again, I don't know how the issue is to implement this in a technical way, but the fact that people are, they may browse Marketplace at work when they can't go in world.
Right. I think that's totally fair. But again, we need to make sure
Priorities.
that our systems can handle the extra traffic.
So this is a traffic issue primarily.
Yeah. And so we, once we feel more comfortable and this becomes something that's a priority, it's certainly something that could potentially happen.
You need to hire someone from Amazon then.
Do you know somebody?
No. No, I don't. Because now let's move to a handful of, in closing, let's move to a handful of listener questions. I put the word out earlier. And what I just said, here's a question from Oriella Kelly says, when will you hire someone from Google to get better search? And we all know there's a reason why Google is number one, and they're probably guarding. I mean, they're guarding their secret closer than the Coca-Cola recipe, I suppose. So
Google actually is not optimized to support shopping. They have a different scenario. They support finding things on the internet that are popular based upon how many people, how many sites link to them, how often people click through, a variety of other things, including, paid advertising as well, which is clearly marked. We have been working on and off over the past year as we've had time on upgrading our search on Marketplace. And I am actually not the one who's going to be launching that one, that project. So I don't know timing on it, but I believe it's pretty close. And the plan for that is that we'll be allowing users to use the new search and the old search side by side. To try it out. I mean, one thing about search is you have to train a search engine to some degree. You have to populate data. They don't always act in the way that you predict they're going to act.
Yeah.
And so it's important to try it out before making changes.
And I remember that when I was up in San Francisco, I asked you how big of an issue is the attempt to game the engine by just using wrong tags and stuff. So that is an issue, but you're aware of it, so you're looking through trying to avoid that, I suppose.
Yes, yeah. I mean, this initial launch is mostly going to be just sort of fixing the problems that we have overall for search, and then there will be room to be able to address some of the specific issues with gaming search results.
Okay, let's go through these other real quick here. Andrew Oleksiuk asks, what is the difference between avatar accessories, appearance, and components listing? Is there a tech definition, or is it just subjective how you internally classify it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have had some challenges with our categories, and I do. We made some changes, I guess, about a year and a half or two ago, which resulted in us understanding some other load issues with our search engine, which is why we haven't made any changes in the recent past. Where we tried to consolidate some of the categories, but then when we hit some performance issues with our current search engine, we didn't end up going in and deleting some of the old categories. And I believe some of those avatar categories are not ones that we've finished cleaning up. And so,
well, good. Here's the reminder from Andrew.
Yeah, it's a great reminder that we'll need to revisit that once our search system is in better shape.
Cube Republic asks, could we have 3 featured slots to promote items on our own store pages, please? 3 featured slots, boom, in the store page.
That's a great idea.
I guess he also, because I have a related question from Loki Elliott, who we joked about last week. He's our only listener, but then we found out we actually have 3 listeners, so that's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, I know. I'm working on 4. My mom, perhaps, but...
she wasn't one of the 3?
No, she was... she was on vacation with no internet, but maybe that's an excuse. So he's talking about design of the store with features, and a related question. Loki Elliott says bluntly, the whole thing looks kind of like an outdated website, and he would just want it to kind of be redesigned completely, I suppose, like just the look of it aesthetically.
Those are certainly fair comments. We definitely are aware that customization for merchant stores has been lacking, let's say. There, as you bring up these things, you're starting to notice there's a lot of stuff that we could potentially do. And updating the look and feel of a website that was designed 5 to 6 years ago is something that is reasonable. But I think that there are other important things that are basic functionality that we could add that would likely give more value to existing customers.
It's a resource game, but I guess the features listing or the customization options of your own store is like one key, it seems to me.
Yeah, and that's a little bit easier to do than revamp the whole site. But we have talked about revamping parts of the site, updating it, giving a new look, and really it's just about what's the next most important thing that needs to happen.
Well, Oz Linden tweeted last week, and I spoke to him briefly. Oz Linden tweeted that they had hired a web guy from within the community. So if you're listening, just have that web guy redesign the marketplace.
Oz has been good at recruiting some people to help out there. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get some of these changes in as we bring in more new people.
Couple more questions. Loki also says there is no share on SL feed feature he likes to see on Marketplace. I guess he means a click from the Marketplace that then shares it on my.secondlife.com. Mm-hmm. It's a very specific small thing, I have to say, Loki. Sorry. Why don't you go in World, take a photo of your store, then you have the slurl, and then manually you cut and paste the Marketplace URL? Is that too much to ask for you, Loki? I'm sorry.
I mean, I think it's a reasonable request to support any kind of social sharing. It's just that we don't see the kind of traffic on the my.secondlife.com site that really warrants it at this point.
All right, they keep on coming because now Loki says that his store is sorted by relevance on default, and he wants it to sort by newest item first on default.
And that's, again, part of the store customization. We actually had an aborted project not long after I first started that there were some issues with it, and then other priorities came up, so we never had a chance to fix those issues.
Loki, this is a resource game, my friend. As you know yourself, being an individual entrepreneur, there's a lot of things. I feel the same way. I get up in the morning with a million ideas, and then I have to kind of organize them, and some fall by the wayside. For now, at least. They're not forgotten forever, but prioritization is a necessity of life.
It is.
Okay, great. My final question would be the issue of separating adult content, because there's still a spillover sometimes with free stuff. I find out. So when I purchase something free, and on the checkout I still see adult content offered, although I'm in my general setting, or maybe I was in the all content setting. It's possible, but
Oh, yeah.
I would like to see the firewall between that a little bit stronger, because this is something that when I try to present, I have this new analogy that I'm using almost on a daily basis when people say Second Life is just sort of the seedy underbelly. I then say, hey, did you ever go to Amsterdam with your kids? So what do? Do you go to a brothel or do you go to a museum? So my point is, you choose the content. But I think it would be beneficial to make sure that this content really doesn't pop up if you don't want it. And it kind of still does.
So what you're saying is the particular scenario is you've viewed something with all maturity levels, you've added it to your cart, then you say change your maturity level to general, add something else to your cart, you go to your cart and you have an adult and a general item in it.
Yes, that is a scenario that I have encountered. And also when I pick up something free, and I have to go through to the very end where then I get offered stuff, then I see the adult stuff.
Okay, well, so a couple of things. One, we can try that out. Our own QA people can take a look and see if that we're seeing that happen. If you do see it happen with a particular product, it may not be set with the correct maturity level. And that's what our flagging system is for. So if you can flag the item, or any of your listeners see content that's not in the correct maturity bucket, we would love to hear about it so we can make sure that everybody finds what they're looking for. I mean, it's not only to prevent adult stuff from being in, a more general category. It also helps if you are looking specifically for adult stuff that it be in that category.
Right. So in other words, and this is important for the listener to understand, you really rely, and that's, this is what it is, but it can be enormously positive. The community can really step up by reporting this stuff, and then so that the listing is incorrect, or the tagging.
Yes. Yeah. It's a pretty common model that a lot of companies use to have their customers help police what's on the sites, because there's just so much on there. We couldn't possibly do it all ourselves. I know that Facebook and Etsy support flagging.
Oh, it's such a double-edged sword, though.
It is. And that's why we have customer support people review them before they're enforced.
Obviously, maturity levels also vary from culture to culture. I was just joking with my friend in Colorado about our Second Life documentary, which aired on German television. It has a lot of explicit stuff in it, and he was joking. He said, "Oh, in Germany, so when did they air that? Like at 8 a.m. in the morning?" I said, "No, but at 6 p.m." He was like laughing. Oh my God, you wouldn't see this on American TV ever.
No, you wouldn't. But we are a company that is in America, so we set our content maturity levels based upon those kinds of limitations.
So that was Brooke Linden from the Marketplace. By the way, I got this wrong. X Street SL was purchased by Linden Lab in 2009, January 20th, 2009. We'll link to the original press release. And you can read more on the viewer-managed Marketplace, on Inara's blog, on Ciaran Laval's blog, on many a blog. And there's also, of course, a great video that explains what is going on, made by our favorite Lyndon Torley. Sorry, Ziola. You're number 2. That's it for the show. We are having Joe Yardley back next week. I apologize. Again, it's my anniversary. Thank you very much. It's been 14 great years in real life and Second Life. Married to the same woman in Second Life for not quite 14 years, but I'm not gonna tell you who she is. Wait a minute, you can just look on the profile feed. Damn, where's my privacy? So, what are we doing in Second Life, or what you should be doing, dear listener? I don't know. But I'm going to tell you that the folks that watched the Second Life documentary Virtualize It on German Spiegel TV gave me feedback that they really loved that documentary, which was in depth. It was positive. It was enlightening for some. Director Phil Toma worked on Virtualize It for, I think, almost 2 years. It features the folks behind Mad P. It features myself a little bit, Mimi Ali, the Second Life performer. It features also Brick Topaz from Live and Learn in Kenya, the lavender field in Second Life. It features humanoid animations, a look behind the making of your favorite dance animations. It's really a great film. Also features a guy who teaches Minecraft in school. So there's one Minecraft guy in there. You might go like, yeah, I'm not going to watch this movie because it has Minecraft in it. Don't be so close-minded, man. Watch it. That documentary, Virtualize It, will go on the Spiegel website shortly with English subtitles. We will let people know when that happens through this show, through the Facebook page, through the In-World group. So that's number one, because I got so many inquiries. When is this coming with English subtitles? Next, guys, if you haven't read the article Avatar IRL on motherboard.com, it's a fabulous article from Cecilia D'Anastasio, who is a freelance writer, also is a researcher at the Nation Institute. And I interviewed her last week. We're going to air that interview in short order. A fabulous journalist who went into Second Life, got this story, pursued this story. Really shows you that it's doable to do good, positive stories about the unique affordances of a virtual world. Lastly, Fantasy Fair is going on. Fantasy Fair, benefiting Relay for Life, the American Cancer Society, raising millions and millions of Linden dollars for cancer research. Fantasy Fair has started. We initially wanted to broadcast live this week, but we will be doing it next Friday, live from Fantasy Fair at 10 a.m. I can't tell you where. You have to find that out yourself. Because, it's Fantasy Fair. It's role play. It's hunting. You got to hunt for Joe and I on the fairgrounds if you want to be part of that live audience. That's it for the show. Have a great weekend, guys. And I'll see you all or hear you all next week. Bye.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Leap Motion, Stitcher, Fateware by Damien Fate, Giza Creations, Arrows Avatars, Maven Homes, Mad Bee Productions, Bot Girls Identity Circus, Ison, Caravel Design, Vika Creations, Humanoid Animations, Loki Elliott, Botanical, Death Row Designs, Fallen Gods Incorporated, What's Next, Abranimations, Blue Moon Enterprises, Avacon, and Landscapes Unlimited. Contact the show via Skype, DraxFiles, Avatar, DraxFiles, or email radio@draxfiles.com.
From a world of magic.
1 a lock of golden hair, 10 the heroes of the fair.
From a time of champions.
Unto each a golden ring, proof against a winter king.
Comes a tale of celebration and remembrance.
Like a seed in frozen ground, lost, though hope will yet be found.
And the courage to fight back.
Like a shadow in a dream.
Do you remember me?
Things are seldom as they seem.
Fantasy Fair 2015, a Relay for Life event, presents The Fairlands Hunt, The Lost Land.
Foolish princess to think you alone can make a difference.
I'm not alone.
Hasten now, and hunters call. Save the Fairlands. Save us all.
The hunt begins April 23rd at fantasyfairsl.wordpress.com.